Yeah, definitely. So there's two main types of insurance for investors. There's your standard building insurance, which a lot of people have because a lot of the time, or you will, if you're going to mortgage your house, the bank will need building insurance before they'll lend against it. So that's a really common one that people take out. But there's also landlord insurance. So the difference between the two is the building insurance will cover the building and the structure, and the landlord insurance will cover the tenancy. And there's a few variations between each of those, and insurance is set up so that if one policy pays out, another doesn't. So they shouldn't double insure. That's why we make recommendations to our clients that if you are going to get your building insurance, get landlord insurance through the same provider, so the policies marry up and you're not going to have gaps in coverage.
So I suppose that, if there's a roof leak, for example, or there's something that happens with a tree on the roof of the property and there's ingress into the property, as you mentioned, ensuring you've got the same policy with the same provider, there's no finger pointing, is there then?
So it is really important that when you're looking at the insurer to go through, that they deal with investor type insurance. I've done many a claim for my clients over the time, and from a variety of different things, from floods with a burst pipe to even really simple things like a rent cover claim, just a loss of rent where the tenant hasn't paid the last 2 weeks rent. So it is really important to have insurance and get that in place. There's bond that's held, kind of your insurance on the property, and a lot of owners think, I've got bond, why would I need insurance? The bond will cover those things that could happen in a tenancy, which unfortunately these days the bond can be taken up with just a full clean of the property and a garden tidy up. Your 4 weeks bond doesn't go too far these days, and there's a lot of insurance companies out there that won't actually charge a excess for loss of rent. So it means without you being out of pocket, we can use your bond to go to things that aren't covered, like your garden tidy up, your rubbish removal, or your, bond clean. And we can claim on the rent that's owing. And this can be as little as the last 2 weeks rent owing. It's really important to check the PDS on the insurance policy that you do go with, because they're definitely not all the same, and they do vary on what they will cover and what they'll pay out and the excesses they charge.
Building insurance and landlord insurance is tax deductible. So, and from a cost perspective, landlord insurance, what's sort of the average cost for landlord insurance, just from an approximate amount, Jess?
And I've seen the policies range from about $1,800 to about $2,200, just depending on the location, size of the property.
So that's for everything, isn't it, though? That's for your building insurance and also for your landlord insurance. But if we look at it from a landlord insurance perspective, if you haven't got landlord insurance, then you're looking at a cost of around, say, $400 a year, which, so let's just say $1 a day. It's actually not that expensive when you think about the protection that it offers you. And the other thing is a lot of insurers will offer, just like OpenCorp does, they'll offer, multi-policy discounts. So if you've got, a number of properties, they'll offer a percentage off to reduce your costs.
I do think the last thing I'd like to mention is, there's a lot of horror stories out there about insurance in investment properties, and we all hear them and we love to talk about them because they're interesting and they can be a little bit crazy. But don't be scared off. The majority of, my years of property management, the amount of actual severe insurance claims I've had to make are actually really minimal. And the amount of damages that tenants cause on property, it's very rarely, extremely rarely actually malicious. A lot of the time it is accidental and it can all be fixed up. And your insurance is there to protect in those situations. So it's a positive thing to have. And don't be scared off by the horror stories that come out about insurance. I promise it's not all that bad.